everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Luxury Lounge. I'm Jill Cohen. I'm editor-in-chief of Luxe Interiors and Design, and I'm here with Benjamin Johnston. And we are here to talk about kitchen, home, and refined interiors, which is the title of his new book. So please stick around and hear all of the amazing pieces of information he has that he's going to share with everybody. And then he's doing a book signing. So let's get started. It was about 5 years ago that I heard from Ben and Eric, his partner, who's here. And Ben was, I was already aware of his beautiful work, and I was following him on social media and thought he was, actually, I was very impressed with all of the relationships he had. And when he contacted me, I assumed they were all licensing deals. And he was like, no, I'm working toward that. I'm doing a lot of instructional social media. And I thought his business sense was very, very, I think, clever. So I asked him, tell me about where you learned all of this, where you got started. And basically, he has a very interesting story. Take us back to Japan.
Yeah.
After you grew up in Houston, Texas.
I would love to. Well, first of all, thank you all for coming out. I so appreciate it. Super excited. This is the first day of the book release is today, the year of the horse.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. So I'm going to be galloping through this year. But I really, it's been an interesting journey for me because my background was originally in architecture. I grew up in Houston, Texas, and I got my bachelor's degree in architecture, got my master's degree from the University of Texas, so nobody could be really angry with me. I went to both schools, the big rivals. And then I got my first residency. I had a residency experience coming out of my graduate program at Cesar Pelli and Associates in Tokyo, which is he was a big starchitect and did these billion square foot developments in Asia. And it was really fun for me to go have that experience, live in Japan, and then flip the script completely, come back to Houston and really put my shingle out as just a designer. I didn't necessarily want to do specifically architecture. I did everything from business cards to websites to furniture design for restaurants. And one invitation after another, one job after another led me into people's homes. And then they would ask me to do, well, hey, can you do a dining room for me? Can you do a kitchen for me? Can you do a bathroom for me? And I said yes to all those opportunities. And before I knew it, without really the thought of becoming an interior designer, I had found out I had become one, which was pretty cool. And then, full circle, now we have an we're a licensed architecture firm in the state of Texas. We do projects all over the world, and we're having a really fun time doing it. So it's been a wild journey with an amazing team that I am so fortunate to work with every day.
Well, we've featured Ben on several Luxe covers with his spectacular work, and you'll see more of it in the book. And I said to him last night, how did you have the nerve at a young age to come back from your residency and just open up on your own without training under somebody? And then when he told me about what we joked is, We Are Design,
yes.
where he did everything.
Yeah.
I said, where did you get the motivation and the work ethic? So,
well, I can say I come by it honestly. I come by it through my parents. My parents worked 2 to 3 jobs at a time, and worked hard to make ends meet. And my mom used to always tell me, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door, which is a famous Milton Berle quote. And it was one of those things that I took to heart. I really thought, I can't wait for the universe to knock on my door. I gotta knock on that door. I gotta build that door of opportunity. And that's really the philosophy I've always had, and it's never led me wrong. And you'll fail at things, and I fail all the time, and I love failing because I learn something from it. But I have literally just taken the direction of I'm gonna just throw everything out there that I can and see what sticks and see what's successful. So that's been my philosophy.
It's amazing. And when I first met Ben, he was doing a lot of work for developers, building spec homes, and from then until now, the transition of the creativity in the homes are amazing. But one of the things that you'd be interested in, because you're here today, is that the most spectacular kitchens we've seen are in this book. And last night we had a big conversation about, we just did a really big survey for Luxe, and our July-August issue is going to reveal all the stats across the country. It's going to be a big national, basically a kind of a
compendium, sort of.
Well, it's kind of like the ultimate survey, what homeowners and what designers feel, this is what luxury homeowners are looking for now. And the number one reveal, which you won't be surprised at, is that the highest amount of money in all the regions is spent on kitchens. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but Ben, we discussed it for more than an hour last night. And
we'll spare you, I promise.
And also, I just loved all the things you said about like your architectural background, how it kind of, really helps the foundation of decision making in a kitchen. So.
Well, on that note, in architecture school, and those of you who've even been to design school, you know that they always teach form over function, function over form, and really, as a foundation, if you can design something that's functional, you can layer in the beauty on top of it. And so it's really important that you're really thinking through what works in a space, how you would use a space, and even more importantly, interviewing your client to really understand how they want to function in their space. We're all a part of a service industry. Most of us who are here are in the service industry in some capacity. So we have to figure out how best to serve our clients. And that requires us to be vigilant about asking the right questions and designing accordingly.
And there's so much to learn. So we've learned in our survey, and I've been hearing it all day today. Talk to us about why appliance first is really important.
Well, that's a great question. We work with a lot of different appliances in the kitchen and in the back kitchens, and then of course we do outdoor kitchens, and we do obviously. You have your utility rooms and your spaces as well. And even in bathrooms, we're finding ways of incorporating appliances into bathrooms. So I would say that it's really important. I always like to take clients pretty early in the design process, whether we're doing the architecture or the interiors. And we like to take them through and educate them as to what are the pros and cons of various products that are on the market, and talk vigorously about, well, is this something you will actually use, or is it a nice to have or a have to have? And so we go through and we really tease out, what is going to be necessary for them to live in their home. And when you
deal with the budgets
and
too.
to deal with the budgets, and then you have to have sometimes a painful conversation with the client about saying, this is where you wanted to come in at, and this is where we are. So where can we make some sacrifices here and there? And it might be switching models, it might be switching companies, it might be scaling back on the number of appliances. But we have those kind of conversations.
I did an interesting podcast this morning, and our moderator kept saying, well, do people have unrealistic budgets when it comes to the kitchen? And I said, in my experience working with very professional designers, you're very clear with the clients. If they really want something, they're going to have to, and stay on budget. Are they going to give up the rug they wanted in the living room? I mean, you have to make those decisions, because I think transparency today requires the designers to be very clear up front, because you never want the client to end a project with you and tell their friends that they went way over budget. They weren't hearing me. It's kind of the worst.
Worst combination.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so true. Our job is to be an educator, and if you, through an errant decision you made in the process of working with a client, if something you have done has undermined their trust in you as an educator and as a keeper of their allowances, their budget, they don't forget it. And so you really have to work really hard to establish trust and make sure you're warning them at every stage. You're in the driver's seat here, but let's talk about the pros and cons at each stage.
And another thing I recently learned at a conference where they had a lot of owners reps, the end result, when someone's in their home and they're loving it and everything went well, they have a great story to tell. The elements that create a bad vibe at the end. If they find out subs weren't paid correctly, if they find out, that it's always money things.
Oh, yeah.
I hate to say it. So being really clear up front. What do you think about, when you have a client that's really focused on having a certain appliance and they love it and they realize it's going to take the whole budget of the kitchen?
I always try to say, I can give you the information and put you in the driver's seat, but ultimately how you spend your money is not up to me. So I often will talk to them about saying, hey, maybe we can come up with wins for you in other areas. I love using that phrase, wins in other areas. And I'll say, maybe we're not doing your top choice of stone, let's say, but maybe we're looking at a something you loved equally, but is less expensive, and we're going to pick up some wins in those other areas. So that ultimately, I like to bid as much of the project with really great contractors up front, so that they know going into it that they have some guardrails on this, and make sure that if we need to cost engineer on the back end, that we have the tools and the information in order to do that.
I love that. That's fantastic. Now, one of the things you talked to me about last night, and I saw it throughout the book, was how the kitchen is no longer just the kitchen. It's extending into, he's talking, I'm going to open some pictures up because your kitchens extend into the living space. The bar is in the middle of a living room. There's, there are places to be entertained kind of throughout the house.
Well, one of the things that I'm glad you bring that up, because one of the things I think is really fascinating is probably in architecture school I was always told, the hearth of the home is the fireplace, and that's where families gather. Obviously, we're in today's age, and the hearth of the home really has become the kitchen island. It is no longer the fireplace that everyone gathers around. It's the kitchen island, and that's become also, it's not even the dining table. I think, that's obviously
I just asked you, which one is the kitchen?
You did. But, it's interesting because I feel like it's so important that, an island, to your point, is, the kitchen as a space to gather. It's really important that you're thinking about how that relates to the rest of the house and how people are going to entertain in their home. And we have some clients, by the way, who are like, I never have a guest in my kitchen. This is my domain, and we're going to keep it as private off of the main space as possible. I have other people who are like, no, we are in the kitchen all the time. So it's important that we adjust our approach.
And you have these bars that are, in different areas of the home.
This is true. Every, that is a funny story, because I think originally with that house, the client had elected in our plan to have that as a working out gym. And partway through the process of designing their home, their brother, who we were also doing their house, decided to do a home bar. And the client immediately scratched through the gym and said, I'm going to do a bar instead. So there was a little bit of a competition there. But it's funny because we did so many, especially during the pandemic, so many home bars that it's become a new standard in a lot of homes that you have to do a home bar. It's just like, it's just expected at a certain price point of home.
Our survey, one of the shocking results to me was hearing so much about how many people aren't drinking anymore. 90% of the homes have a bar. 70% of the homes have a wine room. And last night you were telling me about a client. Go ahead.
Well, literally, a client who wanted not only a bar, but also a wine room, and they don't drink. But the reason they did it was because they're always thinking about, well, if I need to sell this house, I may not drink, but I would still like to make sure that I get top dollar for my investment.
And if they want to have a party.
Oh, and if they want to have a party. That was the other big comment as well, is a lot of times recently, so much of our houses have been built, at least in our work, for entertaining. Right. And so even if the clients don't drink themselves, they still want to be able to have all the amenities to entertain their friends.
Talk about the caterer kitchens and all these back kitchens and this kind of...
Oh my goodness. Now I think there's so many different names. There's the catering, the scullery, the back kitchen, the butler's pantry, the butler's kitchen. There's a million names that, these have been known by. But I don't think we've done a single home in the last 10 years that has not had a back kitchen. So that's been a
really
huge shift for me in my career. I mean, I've been doing this for 22 years, so we're literally just talking about the last half of my career. I've seen a major shift.
Well, in our kitchen and bath section in Luxe, Catherine, given our market editor, has a section called Living, and then kitchen and bath is in there. And we find these kitchens where we've got the pizza oven room, and we have the coffee room, and we have the dining room with the bar, and it's like, where does it stop? We went from doing kitchens to, wait a minute, this is
So
most
true.
of the house into the living room. You were talking about how much people are spending on outdoor kitchens now.
It's really remarkable. Not only is the level of appliances that can go outdoor really increased, and all the different types of burners, and the Solomon grill, and the pizza oven, and before you know it, they want the smoker, and then they have to have the special ventilation, and then they want the beverage drawers, and then they want the ice maker, and then it's like a full-fledged extra kitchen outdoors. So sometimes they have really cool bells and whistles that we didn't have on the interior, mainly for things like a smoker. They want to use a smoker. Obviously, you don't want to ever do that indoors. So we do build for that and plan around it.
Well, because you design entire houses from the ground up as well, talk about the rest of the home and kind of how people express luxury. I mean, we're in agreement that the kitchen is so public. Your neighbor comes over to say hello. They're bringing, a bottle of wine. They want to sit and talk, or your kids are in there, or you're having a party and everybody looks at the kitchen. Mm-hmm. I think we're in agreement that a lot of the spend is it's the most visible place, and it kind of shows off your home accessories.
Well, and it's where people are entertaining the most.
Right.
So they're spending a lot of dollars in those spaces.
So what else do you think is happening in the home?
I think one of the big trends that I've seen last few years is an attention to wellness. I'm sure y'all have all been bothered by a client talking about this before. But then there's obviously everything from the plunge pool to the infrared sauna to the massage room and even yoga rooms. Like we've been doing yoga rooms for clients. It's really interesting to me how that has really come into focus. I think one of the more surprising ones was like this Himalayan salt wall that's backlit, that's supposed to like ionize the air and purify it. So there's just so many different things that clients are getting into these days, all in the name of living a longer, healthier life.
Well, also, there's been a lot of conversation. We've been surprised at these wow rooms, we call them. We have them in a box, wow rooms, beauty salons, massage rooms. And the theory we have is that so many people had to take care of things during COVID where everything was closed, that people figured out how to come to your house and do these things. And then half the population is now working remote at home. So it's kind of like, how do I fill my house with everything I need?
Well, even, the home office really saw a resurgence, and I even have clients putting appliances in home offices with beverage refrigerators and beverage drawers. Appliances and what was traditionally kitchen bath has really invaded almost every room in the space. I think one of the ones people are like, well, what are they doing in bathrooms? And I'm like, everything from the built-in coffee maker to the obviously plumbing to go with
Refrigerator for medicine.
Refrigerator for makeup and medicines. That's been a big one. A lot of times these really high-end makeups, they basically suggest that they be refrigerated. So we're doing a lot of beverage drawers and beverage refrigerators for makeup and medicine. So that's something new. Warming drawers used as towel warmers. I personally don't think warming towel bars work. They heat like one stripe on your towel. I don't really understand. So for me, I think the warming drawer is a great solution if that's something that you appreciate, a warm drawer, a warm towel.
So let's talk a little bit about your furniture line and
Sure.
and really licensing overall, because with your kind of appreciation for a certain type of craftsmanship,
Yep.
how did that play into?
I think it's so funny. My license collections all started also during the pandemic. I call them my COVID babies. But one of the things is I had this notion of is I wanted to partner with a brand like Chaddock, which is 99% of their furniture is made in Morganton, North Carolina. And I wanted to do that because also if I needed to order furniture for clients, I couldn't wait for the overseas productions of product to eventually get here. So I really wanted to focus on a manufacturer that was in the States and doing high quality work. And so I approached them during the pandemic. I actually, when I had COVID, I had like 102, 103 degree temperature, and I designed 100 pieces. And then I called our friend Andrew up, and I said, "Hey, Andrew, like, I'd love to do a collection, and this is how I'm going to be a better customer to you." And I said, "Let me present my collection." I flew to High Point and presented to their board.
COVID was
Yes. So that literally, I took advantage of my pandemic for things like the license collections.
It's amazing.
Yep.
And how is that evolving?
It's really great. You know, we originally debuted 50 pieces at High Point Market 2.5 years ago. We're now up to 150 pieces, including all the component pieces that go with sectional programs and things of that nature. But so that's gone really, really well. And then I also did a fabric collection with Fabric Cut and S. Harris. And we are going to be doing a new collection starting in 2027. So that's exciting. And then we have another collection coming out with materials, bespoke stone and tile, which I'm super excited about. It's going to be a collection of beautiful stone and ceramic mosaic, as well as fireplace surrounds, both in stone and ceramic. It's going to be really, really cool.
You are building doors right and left.
That's my philosophy.
Unbelievable. Well, we have such a wealth of information here. I'd love to have everybody kind of relax and ask some questions and not, and be fearless. If there's anything you want to know, he'll share.
There's a microphone around here somewhere. There, Jason's got it.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Here's a
Chaddock Furniture. Yes, and you probably, it was the old Guy Chaddock that got basically purchased by Ferguson Copeland, and then they rebranded it, and it's actually, again, beautiful furniture all made in Morganton, North Carolina. Great question. Do we have any other questions? Yes, down here. Oh, there's a microphone coming.
Hey, how has your architecture degree helped you be an interior designer?
That's a great question. If y'all didn't hear it, it's how did the architecture degree that I earned in 25 years ago, how has that helped me in my career? And I think it's been hugely impactful, mainly because, anytime you go to school, you're there to learn not only critical thinking skills, but you're also there to learn actual technical skills. So for me, those skills have served me throughout my entire career. And I also found that it was early on being an interior designer focused practice, but with an architecture background, I had architects referring me work left and right because they said, here's somebody who appreciates what we do, they understand the language that we're working in, and they can respect, like, we can create a beautiful project together. A lot of times, obviously, I think sometimes designers find themselves at odds with the architect. I was always the type of person who was like, I'm going to work with them to understand their vision and create a space. And to this day, that's actually how we approach both sides of our practice. We do full-scale architecture and full-scale interiors, but sometimes we are just the architect and we get to work with fabulous designers, and then we get to collaborate with them. And then sometimes we're the interior designer still working with a fabulous architect. So it's really fun for us to have this mix of projects and mix of different collaborative styles.
And in a kitchen, precision can cost you a backache for the rest of your life.
Well, you never want your client to be cursing your name every single time they're leaning over the sink that's not tall enough and it's hurting their back, or where that dishwasher is.
Story I shared with Ben last night.
This is true. You had a kitchen that was hurting your back. I totally get it. I understand. So yeah, there's so much that we can do creatively as designers to really think beyond. Is 36 inches the only height that a counter can be at? Not necessarily. So we really want to make sure that we're customizing them.
Yeah, we talked about that last night with breaking the rules. on the work triangle and all of that functionality.
It's true. I think the work triangle serves as a guide, but as all guides, I think rules are meant to be broken. And I always, again, try to educate my clients as to what the pros and cons are. But if the rule doesn't apply, then that's great. You do something different.
Seeing a lot of variations on that here today.
Yes, exactly. And what's interesting is that I always use the example of lighting. I always see, I see a lot of people say, in lighting, you have to choose the size of your fixture based off of the room size and the ceiling height and the dining table height. And I sit there and say, okay, well, that's great to be aware of, but I often think that that's a missed opportunity to create something dramatic when you play with scale and proportion. So something we talk about in the book is really about scale, proportion, theatricality, and how those tools, when you break the rules, can be really effective in terms of creating a memorable space that your clients will appreciate.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the book writing process seems like it was very exciting, but also hard work.
It was.
And so I guess my question would be, when you were working on it, who was the person you had in mind as the reader? Like, what was that person that you were like, this is what I want to inspire that person to think about or, take something away from, and that kind of fueled you through the book writing process?
Okay, Ariane Belizaire, such an amazing person, and thank you for such a great question. So first of all, what I would say is, you have to. The book writing experience was so incredible because it made you really think about your work and bring certain thoughts that you may not have expressed to anybody, but bring it to the foreground of your thought and your process. And so when we were writing it, we were really writing it with a few people in mind, actually. We were writing it for our team. And this book is a love letter not only to my collaborators in my office, my team, but also our outside collaborators, our clients. It's also incredible builders that we get the opportunity to work with. It's a love letter to all them, and the craftsmen, the artisans. So I wanted to make sure that we were also writing for them. And we wanted to see the work that we were creating reflected back to them, and maybe to explain and connect the dots about how we ended up with that particular solution. And then the final person is the client, the future client, the person that you may not even know yet, and that you may want to work with at some point. So I was really writing with that future client in mind as well. Great question.
Thing I'm going to throw in, I spent many decades publishing interior design architecture books before I joined Luxe. And what we say is there are these circles of sales. Mikkel will know this. The first circle of sales in a book like this will go to the trade. Other interior designers and architects, we go into all of your libraries. You've got the books lined up. You've got Post-its in. They inspire you. They inform. Your clients get to look at a finished kitchen and give you ideas. So we know the trade loves them. Then all of the people that are design magazines aficionados, all of our Luxe readers and readers of all the shelter magazines that just love home and might be dreaming of redoing a kitchen someday, or in the middle of a project. And then there's another outer circle. And for those people that get very high numbers in book sales, they're usually on TV, or they have a brand that goes beyond. Oh my God. They have a brand that goes. I saw the Property Brothers walking by earlier, and they had 1,000 people behind them. So, there's a fan base on top of it, a consumer fan base. But they grow, and it's kind of fun to watch. But,
Yeah, I think you write for a lot of people.
You're right. Mm-hmm. And yes.
Question on here.
Hey, is there a type of space that you're kind of focusing on more on, that you're trying to really crack the code for? I know you mentioned wellness and stuff like that. Is there something that you're focusing on 2026?
I think that's a great question. So obviously, in terms of spaces that we are trying to crack the code on, I think that spaces that require like a plunge pool, the solutions out there are not necessarily the most attractive one. I'm excited. I'm on the hunt to find an attractive plunge pool here at KBIS. But for the most part, we're having to build these in, and we're having to build them like mini pools sunken into the foundation that are in the home. So they're kind of, think more like a Peter Zumthor, like Swiss spa. We're trying to do those kinds of spaces that are very elevated and very beautiful, but kind of make some of the technology disappear a little bit, be more quiet. So I think that's the one that we struggle with, mainly because the solutions that are out there are not the most attractive, in my opinion.
It's interesting you bring up technology because we were talking about that as well last night, that one of the results of our survey was seeing that people really, they want the seamless technology. They want something to go on without having an app and then a password and then a problem, and they want to just show up and it goes on.
I think the struggle too that I have found is that there's a lot of the home has gotten so smart that it's made us dumb. And it's to the point where if it's not programmed well and designed well, the client actually repels from the technology. So I think as designers, we have to kind of, if they're wanting a smart home, we have to get really involved. We've got to look at the programming on their Lutron key settings. We've got to work with them after they got in the home to get the lighting levels set just right. We can't just leave that up to the AV company. So I think it's another level that we talk with clients about. Here's how we're going to provide you service even after your home is installed. We've got to go through and make this house really function to your liking. So that takes a lot of coordination. Great question. Yeah. Any other questions? How are we doing on time? Jason, we're good? Okay.
We're good. We have a lot of time to come talk to Ben and take a look at the book and experience it.
Any other good questions?
Yes.
Before we
here's one right here.
Yes, right over here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Ben, congrats on your work. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much.
I relate to your story or background because I'm also a former architect.
Yep.
And I specialize in luxurious interior design. My question is, what's your feedback with residential home theaters? I feel sometimes like I'm the only one designing home theaters. I'm doing one in Dallas, Texas right now. And most of these houses that we go to, they're dying.
Yeah.
So is it something that we're leaving behind? Is it something that homeowners are not prioritizing anymore?
That's interesting. I would say I have, in probably the last, I'm going to guess 10 years, I have done 2 home theaters. No, I'm going to say 3 home theaters. Out of all the projects that we've done 3. And I would say that's, I wouldn't say that they're dying, but it is definitely a one of those luxury, nice to have is not a have to have. But I would also say that designers are really skittish about getting involved with the home theater space. And a lot of times they're just saying, okay, builder or second party designer, a home theater company that does this design, let's just let you handle it. And I think that's fine. That's a good approach if that's not something you're interested in doing it. Make it somebody else's specialty. But if you're trying to integrate it to the fabric of the home and really make it something successful, I do think the interior designer needs to get involved.
Yeah, also what you mentioned earlier about the wellness vibe of the home is definitely picking up a lot more.
It really is.
A lot more popular. Also because I guess homeowners are becoming more educated in the topic and they're a lot more conscious. So we do see a lot of gyms, spas, beauty salons being incorporated into the residential space.
You touch on something also that I want to say, which is the average homeowner is more educated now than they have ever been about what's out there and what's available, which just means that as professionals, we have to stay 2 steps ahead of them at all times just to try to, that's why KBIZ and High Point Market and all these other big shows are so important for us as professionals to stay above the curve with our clients. So that's a great point.
This is really where the digital space fills information, where anything you want to know about a product, you can get a lot of information really quickly. And, it used to be you'd wait for a magazine that was reviewing the category you were interested in to get the information because it wasn't immediate. Now everything is immediate.
Awesome. Well, I think we're right. Was there one more quick question? Yeah, fantastic. And then I think we're going to be done with questions, but we are going to do the book signing after this, and I look forward to connecting with you guys more soon. Awesome. What's your question?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, you talked about creating your own lines and also partnering with other brands. How do you go, and maybe you already went through this and I caught the tail end of your conversation,
go ahead.
But how do you go about selecting the brands that you're going to partner with?
That's a great question, and Jill has advised many of her clients in the past on this topic. But for me, I think that I'll just use Chaddock as a quick example. I very much wanted a licensed collection with a brand that didn't have a roster 25 deep of other designers, because I wanted to make sure that my collection got the attention it needed. That was one factor. Another factor I was really interested in was just obviously the quality. If I was going to put my name on it, I really wanted to make sure that the quality was up the standard of product that I could sell to my clients. So that was another. And then probably the third was, again, that was crucial, was the American-made aspect. Because when my collection started, I did not want to have to be battling with import. And it's interesting because fast forward, we live in this crazy world right now where tariffs are, this pendulum that swings back and forth faster than any of us can keep ahead of. And so that was also, it's turned out to be a proven success for my collection, just making sure that it could be something manufactured in the States.
I'll add to that. Many of my book clients end up doing collections with a brand that they do a lot of business with. Mm-hmm. So, for example, very high-end designer who's done many books. There was a specific rug company that he did a lot of collaborations with. They customized a bunch of things for him, and then he went and said, I really want to put my name on this, and he had several very big projects. And I will tell you that the vendor is always most interested when somebody is one of their best clients and they're going to use a lot of it, because licensing, you're sharing money with a designer. And one of the things you're getting back, other than their creativity and original designs, is you're getting back a lot of visibility from their press. So this client happened to be, in all the magazines, and he was using their things, and this attached his name to theirs, and it was a win-win for the two of them. Because
I want to add on that. You wouldn't believe how many designers have done a collection and they never use the product that they designed, which I think is a real missed opportunity. If you're not willing to put it in your projects, why are you designing a collection for them? So I really think it's important that if you're hitching your cart to their horse, that you need to make sure that it's product that you yourself can personally endorse and that you feel really excited to use in all of your projects. Well, that was a great question. Well, we are probably out of time for the conversation, but we so appreciate y'all being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ben.
Thank
You're
you,
always
Jill.
so full of great information.